Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. All right, so today we're going to talk about a success mindset. There's something I learned, something I didn't when I was younger. I'll give you an example of what I used to do. When I was a kid, when I won the state championship in boxing, Silver Glove State Boxing Championship, I got to the point to where I was running 7 miles at an extremely fast pace. I would do like a easily 45-minute workout, push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks. I mean, I'm talking 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, 200 jumping jacks, and then I'd shadow box, and then I'd stretch for another 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then in other words, my breathing was already going. When I went out that door, I was gone. So here I'm this little kid, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, running 7 miles in the morning, okay? And I mean at a fast pace. So I didn't do that overnight. The problem with a lot of men is, okay, the extreme left brain is black or white. It's either or thinking. It's box A or box B, that's it. There's no other options, no other possibilities. So I didn't start out that way. And I didn't win the state championship my first day out. It took me about 9 months to actually win it, which was really fast. But I applied a technique unconsciously that Tony Robbins talks about that years later I learned. Here's what it is. Instead of thinking, okay, my goal is to run 7 miles, you got to think, okay, where am I at right now? Tony says, you've got to have smaller achievements. In other words, you got to get rewarded as you go along. Because if you run 1 mile, then 2 miles, then 3 miles, for most people, that's incredible. And then 4 miles, and then 5 miles. For most people, that's like, holy shit. But if like, man, I suck. You can't do that. You've got to have goals that you achieve that make you feel good. So, okay, so one of the things he says, goes, so what's your purpose for doing whatever it is? You want to make $1 million. He says, well, I want to feel a certain way. He goes, what if I told you feeling that way will motivate you more to go after that feeling again at an even higher level? A lot of guys don't understand that. So Tony says, and here's what it is right now. It's an NLP thing. We learned an NLP thing. He goes, make it easier to achieve whatever the value is. Because it's not the goal. There's a value behind it because it makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel capable. It makes me feel like a good worker. You know, whatever your value is behind it, okay? If you can achieve that value at smaller levels, it'll motivate you to keep going. Now, how do I know this? Because when I got older, I kind of did the opposite. I kind of was like, well, until I'm benching 300 pounds, I suck. So here I am in 10th grade benching 275 thinking I'm no good, right? Well, I was like 147 pounds or 145 pounds. So at that age, benching 275 was pretty freaking good, but I didn't view it that way. And so weightlifting kind of became a negative thing, but I was determined and I kept going. So what happened was, because I had all these achievements as a kid at a fairly high rate, my goals automatically, well, I have to be up here. If I'm not there, then I was this miserable fucking whatever. And one day I finally just quit something. I forget what it was. It was football in college. I finally was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm never going to do it again. It's because I felt miserable because I wasn't achieving the world-class goals the first year in college or the second year in college. So when I learned that from Tony, I thought, man, he said, make it easy to achieve the value of it, the feeling of the emotion. Everything we do in life, guys, is for the emotion. It's not for the money. Even the money. Let's say you say, well, I want to make $1 million a year, $1 million a month. For what purpose? What it really comes down to is, you say, well, so I could buy a house for my family. Okay, so for what purpose? Because I want them to have a nice, warm, safe place to live. For what purpose? So also they can sleep well. For what purpose? Well, so they can get up in the morning refreshed and they can go, go after their dreams and goals and feel good about themselves. So what it really comes down to is like, well, how does it make you feel? It's like, well, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm making a difference in other people's lives. So that would be the value, making a difference. So Tony says, whatever the value is, if you can make it easier to feel that, you're going to get motivated to do it more. So let's say, we'll take that one. Could be, I want to feel powerful. Values are emotions, by the way. They're feelings. And let's stick with make a difference in other people's lives. So he said, well, what if you tie your son's shoes and you made a difference in his lives? How would that make you feel? Like, yeah, that would be nice. See, you're starting to look at smaller things that will help you realize you're achieving that value, not just in 6 years, then I'm going to make $1 million a year, or in 6 years, then I'm going to make $1 million a month, and then I can feel good about myself. Because in the meantime, not only are you going to be miserable, everyone around you is going to be miserable, and the motivation goes away. it kills the motivation. You don't want to kill the motivation. You want to inspire. You want to start that on fire. So start looking for other ways to achieve whatever the value is. Now, the value is something you're going to have to learn how to discover. Now, here's one way you can do it. Obviously, I can do it for you. I'm trained in actually what's called values elicitation and also values healing. Because sometimes we have values conflict where one value says this is good, but another one says no, it's not. Or I want to do it, but the other one says no, that's bad. So sometimes you have values conflicts too. And we can heal that also and integrate. So heal both of them and then integrate them. And then a new value will arise, which is much more powerful. And now you're much more in alignment. So that's what I can do for you with the techniques I've learned in NLP, Ericksonian hypnosis, etc. So what you have to do right now is you have to set smaller goals, smaller achievements that will, you don't have to set smaller goals, but these are goals that build up to the medium goals, to the large goals, to the larger goals, to the extremely large goals. That's how you become a champion. Now, I've been on a lot of championship teams, section championship football team, state champion in boxing, national champion in kickboxing, went to the state championship in wrestling. I didn't win it. I'm drawing something else. I said boxing. Did I say boxing? I said boxing. There's something I'm missing. BMX racing. I won a couple of nationals in BMX. Trying to think what else. So I think you get the point. I've been on a lot of championship teams. I was also Army Airborne Infantry, which is a very intense training. So everything I'm talking about right now, you learn in all those organizations. This isn't something that only Tony Robbins and NLP know. I think the thing that NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, did, they began to study people on an unconscious neurological level. And they started going, well, why is this military so successful? Why is this unit so good? Or why is this guy such great? We find out what they're doing in, okay, I've got a great example. Jacob Stitchstrand. Okay. He's the #1 cut man in the world. He was my kickboxing trainer, and he was also my cut man for 4 years, technically for 5 years. So here's the deal. I remember going into fights, and he would tell me the littlest things like, no, don't do that. That'll blow. I'm like, okay, for example, let's say you get a bloody nose, you get punched in the nose, and you might get a little hairline fracture, but you may not even know it, but your nose is clogged with blood. The first thing you want to do when you get to the corner, you want to blow it out. You don't do that because if you have a little hairline fracture in the orbital bone or whatever, it'll blow it up and the ref will stop the fight, even though it doesn't even hurt. So he goes, no, whatever you do, he goes, swallow the blood, just suck it down, swallow it. And I thought, wow. I'm trying to think of another example. There's something else he gave me. There was a Muay Thai kick where you got to land it, turn it over. You got to land it on the front of the bone. If you land on the side, you can crack it. There's all these little tiny things that anybody could do and learn. And those are the things that the champions do. And you're like, but they're not hard. Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Being a champion, being a millionaire, being successful as being a writer, a painter, an artist, it's not about, I've got to do the hardest thing in the world. It's the little things that make you the champion. I know, okay, I'll give you an example. I became a cornerman. I got my license here in the state of California, and I began to corner fights with my coach, Jacob Stitchstrand. Look him up, Google him. He's been in 2 or 3 Rocky movies. He was in that one movie with, I can't think of that really famous young black actor. He was like Apollo Creed's son, and it was kind of like part of the Rocky series, but I think they called it Balboa. I forget, whatever it was. So he was a cornerman in that movie. But the point being, he kind of surprised me back then because I didn't think he knew this stuff, and this guy was sharp. Even when he's considered one of the best hand wrappers in the world. And I'll tell you, when he wraps your hands, you feel like you could punch through a brick wall. And he goes, here's the difference. You tape it here. It was like a 1/4 inch difference. He goes, and then you wrap it to here, not there. And there was all these little technical things, and that's all it was. And here's the thing. Any of you guys can learn how to do that. So that's the difference between being a champion and someone who struggles. I promise you, the goals that you want to achieve in life are listen closely, very achievable. You just need to get out there and learn the little differences that make the big difference. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you want to get a hold of me for life coaching, personal development coaching, NLP, therapy, emotional healing, Ericksonian hypnosis, and energy healing, go to Mike at MikeKollin.com. That's my email, Mike at MikeKollin.com, or call me, 415-235 2512. The country code is 1. I'm USA, and I do have a WhatsApp. All right, guys. See you in the next video. Bye.